Hello and welcome to another edition of Comics with Cody. We're going to have a little bit of a shorter episode today just because there's a few less comics to talk about for this subject matter. Also just because the other ones seemed like maybe they ran on a little too long. I don't know if listening to me ramble for 20 minutes is exactly a good idea or not. But today we're talking about Watchmen. And Watchmen, the first time I was exposed to Watchmen was seeing the movie in theaters. I told this story on one of my other shows here on YouTube. We didn't like the movie. I was a little kid at the time, and Watchmen, we thought it was going to be like the Superman sort of superhero thing, and of course it's not. It's a sort of a breakdown of that kind of superhero, and so we didn't like it, me and my family as a kid. And it wasn't until much later when I saw it again that I was able to really understand the implications of what the story is really about and what Alan Moore crafted with Watchmen. This is my copy of Watchmen. For a long time, my younger sister thought I stole her version, but she's been moving recently and she discovered her version. So this is actually my copy, I swear, I promise. Like I said, I didn't get this until much later, after I had rewatched the movie, and then finally I was like, you know what, I think I need to go back, I need to see this book. And then when I started collecting comic books, this was one that was at the very top of my list. Of course, getting it in the trade paperback. There's so many different versions, comic books lately. It gets really expensive, but you can get the different versions that come with, you know, you get to see all the concept art. They're printed bigger, different sizes. I just can't afford all of that. So this is just the standard trade paperback. That's what a lot of my stuff is. That's you know, cheaper is better as far as I'm concerned, to a certain degree. I remember after seeing the movie, I was really astounded by the artwork in this, and of course, who wouldn't be? The story that Alan Moore crafted is pretty well told in the movies. It's pretty direct, straightforward, especially if you watch the director's cut, which I recommend. I enjoy the director's cut much more. And then coming and seeing the way the story was originally told and the artwork involved was really a wonderful experience that I was glad to have. If you've never read a graphic novel or a comic book before and you're thinking about trying one out, this might be a great place to start. It's a single contained story front to back. You know, it's won awards just as a story, as a book, but it also just happens to be one of the best comic books and graphic novels of all time. It's Watchmen. This really did belong to my younger sister. This is, what do they actually call it? Watching the Watchmen, which is basically like art scrapbook of all the different art that was behind the Watchmen graphic novel. This was only $8 at Barnes & Noble at one time. And my sister is an artist who has talent out of this world. And I guess she bought this to be, you know, inspired. You can see how they did all the page work there and all the lines, the ink. This is just really cool to really see the deconstruction of how these books actually came to be made. She let me have this, which was really nice of her. When I started getting into comic books, just some color stuff. They've recolored the original Watchmen book, maybe a couple times, I'm not sure. There's always arguments whether that's the right thing to do, and I think it just depends. Sometimes it can really clean something up and make it better, and of course other times it's unnecessary and even damages the original intent of the creators. That's never good. Speaking of damaging the original intent of the creators, I think the general consensus is that nobody likes Before Watchmen. There's a few of these, and basically they just tell the backstories of all the characters from Watchmen, and they're split 2 characters a book, I think. You know, you've got the comedian and Rorschach, and then you've got Ozymandias and the Crimson Corsair. Minutemen, Spectre, Night Owl, and Dr. Manhattan share a book. I've only read these once. I think the artwork is pretty solid. You know, it's kind of just that modern style though. These are all done by different people, but there's nothing really there that was necessary, and you know, I think it was against Alan Moore, his wishes, that this be sort of continued as part of a grander universe. I think it was supposed to be a self-contained story, and so people all, you know, go back and forth on whether that should have ever happened or not, and that leads us right into sort of the last chapter of the Watchmen story, and that is Doomsday Clock. And there are two of these. I'll show them up close individually. Doomsday Clock is the story of the Watchmen characters in the Watchmen universe connecting with the typical standard DC characters in universe. You know, so you have situations where Superman and Dr. Manhattan are meeting, or Rorschach and Batman. You know, you'd have to read it, see how it all works. I think this turned out better than before Watchmen. This was one of the books that really turned me on to collecting comic books. It's when I decided that this is something I really like. There's Batman and Rorschach right there. So I think this was really good. Nothing particular sticks out as far as the art style goes. I don't understand why, when you do these sorts of things, they've done it with Dark Knight Returns too, why you don't stick pretty closely to the original art style. I think there's some idiocy about it. But of course, every artist has their own style, and it's good to flex that. But you know, you're doing what you're doing for a reason. Okay, here's Doomsday Clock Part 2. It doesn't look like Watchmen, and the story, you know, isn't exactly what Alan Moore probably intended to be happening with these characters. But I think this is about as good as you can expect it to be for what they were trying to do without, you know, because there's just so many more damaging things that could have happened. So if you haven't read Doomsday Clock, that's kind of cool. Before Watchmen, I don't recommend too much. The original book, definitely go back and read that if you haven't. It's one of those books that, you know, if somebody's never read a comic book or a graphic novel and they say, what should I do to get started? Read Watchmen. Watch the movie too. Zack Snyder did a great job. So this has been our episode of Comics with Cody, and I hope you liked it, and I hope you like our video, and comment below, what do you think about Watchmen? What do you think about DC using these characters without Alan Moore and the other creators? Let me know below. Thanks for watching.